Good afternoon, and once again, welcome to VetNet. My name is Jason Dozier, Manager of Plants and Operations here at Hire Heroes USA. I'm joined by a veteran transition specialist, Jesse Sanchez, out in actually Auburn, Washington. I keep getting corrected about that. And Denise Montgomery here in Alpharetta, Georgia. And today we will be talking about resume writing. And before we transition into the course, I just want to remind you all that we do these classes every Wednesday at 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We cover a wide range of topics, including resume writing, interviewing, networking, the whole 9 yards, what you need to do to be successful in your job search. And we've been doing these classes for about 2 years now, so feel free to follow us on YouTube or Google Plus and find our collection of videos that we've been doing, I feel like, for a long time. And with that being said, if you don't know what VetNet is, first VetNet broadcast, like I said, we've been doing this for 2 years, the ongoing partnership between ourselves here at Hire Heroes USA, the Institute for Veterans and Military Families at Syracuse University, and Google. And if you want to learn about how to start your business or how to connect with companies, or more so like the C-level type companies, then feel free to follow their videos as well. They do training events every week. So with that being said, I know what VetNet is and what we're going to teach you. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Jesse and Dee, and we'll get the show on the road.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jesse Sanchez, and I am here with Danisha Montgomery. I'm going to talk to you today about resume writing. If you don't mind, Danisha, would you mind giving a little bit of background on yourself before we get started?
I sure will. Hello out there. My name is Danisha Montgomery. I'm here in beautiful Alpharetta, Georgia, and my background is in retail, nonprofits, also talent acquisition. What brought me to Hire Heroes USA was I wanted to utilize whatever skills and just experiences that I've experienced and share that with the vets to just have a smoother transition into the civilian workplace, and also to minimize just the headaches from job searching in general. I know I was guilty of just kind of, just blasting my one resume out to every employer, and after I blasted out 10, 20, 30 resumes for the day, I'd watch TV. So that's just not the proper way to job search. So just to pass that knowledge down of how to effectively pursue your job search, and also to make the most of that experience and your resume of showcasing what your talents and contributions are. That's what brings me here today, and I hope that we have a great time today just discussing the resume and what we can do to really just show off your talents. Thanks, Jesse.
Thanks, Danisha. Again, my name is Jesse Sanchez. I am a Marine Corps veteran. I served from 1999 to 2006. So I've been through the transition myself. I took advantage of the GI Bill, graduated from college, and coincidentally used Hire Heroes USA to help me with my resume and job search. I've been with Hire Heroes for 2.5 years, and I look forward to sharing any of the expertise that I've picked up since I've been here. So let's go ahead and kick off this resume writing. As you can see from the slide, resume writing is a document that's going to highlight your value and targets towards a specific career objective. So what that means is a resume is not your complete work history. It's your relevant achievements, quantifiable information, and we're going to get into all of that as we go through this class. And next slide, please. So there are 3 types of resumes that you're probably familiar with. So there's a chronological, and it's pretty self-explanatory. It's just a reverse detail of your work history, starting with your most recent and working your way back. Then there's a functional, aka skills-based resume, and finally the federal resume. What we're going to focus on today is the chronological resume, touch a little bit on the functional resume, but what I want you to keep in mind as we go through this class is that the principles between all 3 of these different types of resumes are the same. Anything you want to add, Danisha?
If you are applying to any federal positions, even though we don't specialize at Hire Heroes USA on creating that federal resume, we do have some resources available, and also we have some mentorship opportunities available that you can take advantage of.
Thank you. All right, so this is just to give you an idea of what a private sector resume will look like while you're working with us here at Hire Heroes USA, and we'll go into each of the sections one by one. Next slide, please. Thank you. So the top portion is the heading. Many of you have probably heard of the 10-second test. And believe it or not, we do use the 10-second test in our everyday lives. Whether you're going to Blockbuster or looking for a movie on Netflix, you might have an idea of what it is that you want to look at. Whether it's a horror movie, comedy, you're going to skim through the synopsis and see, yes, this is the movie I want to watch. Likewise, when a hiring manager or a recruiter is looking at your resume, they're going to look at your summary first and see, does this person have the qualifications we're looking at? So what you want to do is highlight your top 2 to 3 achievements in the summary relevant to the job posting so that you capture the hiring manager's attention. And it's probably too small to see, but we'll want to start with the title of the job that you're looking for. And this replaces the outdated objective statement. So as you go through each line of the professional summary, it is going to be something relative to the job posting that the hiring manager is looking for, whether it's college degree, security clearance, number of people you've managed, stuff like that. And then 9 keyword bullets that you see underneath, those are keywords that you pulled straight from the job posting that are also skill sets that you possess. Danisha?
Yes.
Did you want to talk about the heading of it also? Sorry, I skipped that part.
No, go for it.
So I skipped the heading, which is one of the most important things, because how are they going to get a hold of you? Starting with your name, capital letters all around so it's bigger and it captures the eye. Address. If you're applying locally, put your address. If you're not applying locally, consider using the address of a relative in that area, or you could just use the city and state if you're also not located in that area. Some companies may or may not weed you out just based on your location, but if you're already kind of in a position where you can relocate at no cost to the company, it's not a bad idea to just go ahead and say that that's where you are. Email address, you want to be simple and professional. And industry standard is Gmail. If you use something like AOL or MSN.com, anything like that, it might come across as outdated. And coincidentally, on Gmail, the spam filters are more advanced than the other email servers. And then if you have a LinkedIn account, definitely put that URL on the bottom of your heading. That way you give them another angle to check you out and see why you're qualified. Anything you want to add, Danisha?
I would add, it's something that you touched on as far as the email address. Employers and managers, they pay close attention to those email addresses. So stay away from any email address that you might use on a personal's ad, like, you know, hot thunder for your love at AOL.com. Stay away from those. There's a funny story of this one vet who had an email address, all that in a bag of chips at gmail.com. And so he came up with that email address because he wanted the employers to know that he was all that in a bag of chips. So while we get it, it's just not professional. Some people don't get the joke and they just think it's unprofessional and they move on to the next candidate. So make sure your email address is professional. Also, with your telephone number, I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. However, voicemail is something that we have to visit. Whatever voicemail that you have, make sure that you state your name. Also, you keep it professional. Do not use those ringback tones. I don't care if it's the opera music. I don't care if it's Stevie Wonder, because I'm a huge fan. But I don't, as a hiring manager, I don't want to hear that. I want to hear that out of all the calls I've been making, that I've reached the right person. The only way I'll know that is if you state your name in the voicemail, and also just a professional message so I can hear how you communicate. So make sure you do that, and because you don't want to turn any potential employers off with an unprofessional or poor voicemail. And make sure the phone number is working as well.
Thank you, Danisha. All right, moving on to the past the professional summary, we're going to go ahead and talk about the job title areas of the resume. So of course you want to start with the company name, location, and dates. The reason why it is set up like this is many companies nowadays are using an applicant tracking system to weed down the population of people that are applying and kind of sort it down to qualified candidates based on the keywords that you used in your professional summary, and then as well as the body of the resume. What you see here on the screen is a chronological resume compared to a functional resume. And as you can see, the resume on the left, chronological, you see company name, city, state, dates. The resume on the right, the functional resume, you see skills, project management, leadership, etc. But as you take a closer look at the content underneath these job titles and skill sets, it's all going to be quantifiable, results-oriented information. Next slide, please.
Hey, Jesse, I would like to jump in and state that usually for a functional resume, you'll see that format a lot for job seekers who may appear to have some instability in their jobs, where they've had, job hopping situations, or just, they've worked multiple different jobs, or just in different industries. So the highlight of a functional resume would be to specify and really just key in on those specific skills for the job that you're applying to. So if you're applying to something that needs heavy project management experience, that's where you'll go in and focus on that. You'll focus on those leadership and supervision skills and so on. So that would be a good reason to use that functional resume. And usually in that situation, a lot of spouses, because they're moving around with their servicemen or women, going to different locations and leaving those positions. So I'll see in many aspects spouses use a functional resume.
Thank you, Danisha. Those are really good points. All right, professional summary. As I was talking about earlier, we have it laid out by the name of the company, location, and dates. And as you can see underneath, we have your most recent title top, and then working our way backwards. What you want to stray away from with the content of the resume is don't just list job description alone. Anybody can list the job description. What you want to do is set yourself apart from other candidates by showing the value that you offered to your former company. That way they can see, oh yeah, this person, they're process improvement oriented, etc. They're going to be a great asset to our organization. You want to use power words to start your sentences. The tendency might be to say responsible for A, B, and C. Instead, you could use words like managed, directed, anything like that. That way, you're showing that you took this action with A, B, and C, and here are the results. The acronym that some people use is the STAR method. It's your, what was the situation, task, action, result. And that should be in every single bullet that you decide to put into the job history. And of course, we're going to keep it relevant to the job to which you are applying. Is there anything you want to add to that, Danisha?
Definitely stay away from the responsible for or minimize that. There will be occasions where I'll throw it in there, but you just don't want each action that you took, in your responsibility or your job to just say you're responsible for this, you're responsible for that. Like Jesse was saying, show those action verbs that you supervised, you managed, you facilitated, you mentored, you partnered, you collaborated. Those are good power words to use in that resume.
In addition to that, it's a good idea to avoid adjectives such as successful, outstanding, unless I would say you could sprinkle this in every once in a while if you had a really just unique experience that had good results that you just wanted to highlight throughout your resume. The next area we're going to talk about is each section kind of broken down in a more detailed manner. Starting with company and location. Thank you. So as I started to say earlier, was that The way the resume is broken down in our template is designed to keep it simple and straightforward, and of course make it through those electronic scanning systems or Apple tracking systems that many companies are using. They're designed to scan a document, and you kind of want to keep it in a familiar format to those databases. So starting with your company name, city, state, if you're in the military and you travel a lot, you could use various locations as an option. And then underneath that, you'll put your title. Here it says Division Information Technology Director. Some of the titles that we've held in the military might not seemingly translate into the civilian sector. It could say something like Platoon Sergeant, Logistics Chief. What we want to do is translate that into a format that is similar to civilian hiring managers. So you consider Platoon Sergeant to be Operations Supervisor, and something like Logistics Chief to be a Logistics Manager, simple things like that. And then as we talked about description of the role, there's option for 1 to 2 sentence background on what it was exactly that you did. That way you give the hiring manager a frame of reference for the following result-oriented bullets that you're underneath. They might not know exactly what a platoon sergeant or operations supervisor did in the Marine Corps, but you can give them a little bit of a frame of reference to get that going. And then, of course, the accomplishments that we talked about below. Danisha.
To piggyback off of a little bit of what you were saying as far as civilians may not be as knowledgeable about certain verbiage like the platoons and the battalions, it's true. So I don't know if I mentioned this in the introduction, but I'm a civilian. And when certain resumes come across my desk, it'll have that this vet served in the 106th Airborne, and there'll be a series of numbers, or maybe they manage class 9 items, or there are some acronyms that I have no idea what they mean. So we want to stay away from that, because the civilian recruiter and manager is not going to take the time to Google search any of those acronyms or what any of that means. Also, they just may come up with the wrong spelling out or interpretation of those acronyms. So again, you want to demilitarize or civilianize a lot of that verbiage in your resume. Tell us what class 9 items are. Stay away from the specific battalion or so forth, 106 or whatever it may be. Based on our experience here at Hire Heroes and helping veterans secure employment, those things have basically not added value. So we'll list the company name, the United States, whatever the branch was, Army, Navy, Marines, and we'll go into the location, but we'll stay away from, the, I guess, elongated specific battalions and spelling that out, because ultimately it's just not adding value to that job seeker's, background and expertise. And again, stay away from the acronyms. We call that acronym soup when the resume just has tons of acronyms on there and you have no idea. You just get lost in looking at the acronyms, and before you know it, to a civilian, it becomes overwhelming. And when we get overwhelmed in talent acquisition, we'll put the resume to the side. It's the harsh truth of the matter, and we don't want that to happen to you, because we know you have the skill set that the employer needs.
Thanks, Danisha. And then just to touch back on accomplishments, as listed as your job history bullets, you can see that it says oversaw 3,500 user-based network, etc. The tendency is to put oversaw a user-based network and communication assets, and then leave it at that. This person set themselves apart by saying oversaw 3,500 user-based network and $25 million worth of communication assets with a 99% reliability rate. Big difference when you add those numbers in. And a unique part of being in the military is being responsible for high-value equipment that you may not have had the opportunity to be in control of in the civilian sector. And that is something we could work with you one-on-one later on, helping you identify those. And of course, your performance evaluations, NCOERs, fit reps, etc., are also a good asset for finding those accomplishment bullets to put in your resume. Okay. Next slide, please. All right, this is an example of a bullet from Infantry Marine. As you can see, there's a lot of acronyms. There is a number in there, so we'll give them a good point for that. But most people do know what a KIA is, which might have a negative connotation to it, and then, what the heck is a HVT? So what we did is we translated that into something that's more familiar to the civilian sector, and perhaps this gentleman was applying to a security position. And you can see security operations management skills, led and conducted 100 combat patrols, etc. We took out HVTs and added most wanted enemy combatants, and this would be perfect for somebody applying for security or law enforcement. Anything you wanted to add to that one, Dinesha?
I was just going to say, to me, a Kia was a car. But after looking at this military experience, I never looked at the Kia car the same anymore. So,
I love that.
It's true. I wish I were making that up. But the first time I saw this, the car, that's what popped in my head. So looking it up, I understood, what they meant by 50 enemy KIAs. But again, for military, that could work for law enforcement or security more so, because that sector is heavily populated with military. But again, we can improve upon that, and Jesse's going to show us.
All right, so next slide, please. There are some resources out there online to help you get started on your resume if you are kind of starting from square one, and there's different sites like ONET Online, Valor Vets, etc. I want to emphasize that these are just starting points. What they're going to do is give you mostly job description. What you can do as a starting point is take those job descriptions and then personalize them to yourself. Add those quantifiable results that you got while you were serving as they pertain to each of those bullets, and hopefully they'll inspire you on other accomplishments that you've had. But again, these are just a good frame of reference for a starting point. I don't know if you've ever used them for anything more than that, Dinesha, that you could elaborate on at all.
Home Depot has one. They have a translator because they're very military friendly, have a multi initiatives for hiring military vets. So I've gone on and used their translator, and it was helpful because, again, just me being a civilian with a parent that has served in the military, just the MOSs and the job titles, I wasn't familiar with those. So I've had to do my research and rely on Home Depot's. ONETs is very good as well. But you touched on earlier that those NCORs, those are usually so well written by the superior that you can get those good nuggets, that's what I like to call them, those valuable nuggets of information of how many people were managed, how much property was maintained with no loss, no damage, no incidences, and also some of those unique achievements, especially if they were awarded something for inspections, if they were in a special operation or so. So the NCORs, find those, because just valuable nuggets that will be great contributions and be impressive on your resume. Because you want to stay away from the watered down job description. It's not about you doing things, it's about you achieving things. And we want to show you off as an achiever, not just a doer.
Exactly. Thank you, Dinesha. So next we're going to talk about any education or training that you've had, civilian or military. Of course you want to list those. Here you have somebody with a Master's of Arts in Telecommunications Management as well as a Bachelor's of Science. Whatever it is that you've studied, if it's in progress, put it down. Instead of the year that you completed it, put pending 2015, etc. Show that you've, what you've been doing with your time, essentially. If you're relying on your education as one of your major qualifications for a job, say you did A in the military and now you're doing a complete 180 into a different industry, consider putting your degree and education up at the top, because that's going to be one of your biggest relevant items that you want to highlight to the hiring manager. If your degree is fairly recent, within the last 2 or 3 years, you could consider putting your GPA if it's a good one. Any certifications that are relevant to the job that you're applying to, definitely list those. If you have certifications that aren't relevant for some reason, maybe you're a CrossFit certified expert, but it has nothing to do with being in the IT industry, go ahead and consider leaving those off. And of course, any personal awards that you've had either in the military or civilian sector, list those. Any hiring managers will be excited to see that you were recognized by your senior managers or leaders for work that you've done. And I wanted to emphasize that these are normally your personal awards, Navy Marine Corps Achievement Medal, Civilian Side Employee of the Month, Top Salesperson of the Year, things like that, show that you've been awarded and recognized for things that you've done. Anything from you, Danisha?
Also, as your veteran transition specialist, Jesse and I, we can help you kind of decipher between those awards, because we know, especially if you've had a long career in the military, you may have so many awards and you want to list them all. So, you know, what we recommend is listing your top 5 or so most prestigious awards, because we know you have many, but some are going to carry more weight than others and some are going to be more relevant. One thing I see on this resume is, even though this job seeker is going for an IT position, they listed the combat action ribbon. So this could go 2 ways. Sometimes we say, you know, be careful when you bring up combat, because there are stigmas out there regarding veterans, PTSD, all that. We know it's not true, we just know it's out there. So in regards to whatever you list on your resume, now it's fair game for the employer to bring up. And I guess even though it could take a turn, you know, but we just want to say, if it's on your resume, they can ask about that. So just be prepared. However, if you feel strongly about listing that combat ribbon, you can spin that and speak to how you work well under pressure. You've also had, you know, your multitasking skills while in that environment. But of course, I just really want to go back to whatever you list on this resume, you really want it to show value to the job that you're applying to. And if it's listed, then it's fair game to kind of bring it up.
And then just to tack on that, say you listed your Navy and Marine Corps Achievement Medal, be prepared to talk about it if it does come up. There's been a handful of veterans that I've worked with where I asked them, oh, I saw on your resume that you put Navy and Marine Corps Achievement Medal. What was that for? And sometimes they're like, stammer, I don't really remember what it was for. So if you're going to list it, be prepared to brag about yourself on that. Okay. So next, we're going to talk about, or just go over, resume mistakes. This is actually one of my favorite slides, because all of these things, we can negate them now. Number 1 mistake are typos. And I know we all have spell check on our Microsoft Word, but manger and manager are not going to get picked up by spell check. So once you've gone through your resume, you've done that awesome Microsoft Word spell check, get a second set of eyes on that. Whether it's your veteran transition specialist at Hire Heroes USA, your spouse, a friend, it's always smart to get one other person to look at your resume. And of course, number 2, not tailoring to the job posting, which is something that a veteran transition specialist can work with you one-on-one. The job posting that you're applying to is basically giving you the answers to a test. We're looking for somebody with this degree, this level of management, this experience, ABC. Highlight those in your resume. Focus it toward that. And then as you work your way down, you can see an appropriate email address, sentences copied straight from a job posting. That kind of ties in with just listing the job description from your former jobs. Hiring managers and recruiters want to see that you put some effort into this job that you're applying to. It shows that you're invested, you're interested, stuff like that. And then, of course, don't include a photo. This is not the place to let them know what you look like, or that you like the the Seattle Seahawks. This is just not the place. There is an arena for that, and we go into that more in one of our LinkedIn classes that we talk about later on in a different VetNet hangout. But the big takeaways here are attention to detail from yourself, having that second set of eyes, and of course targeting it towards a specific job posting. And then Danisha, is there anything you wanted to add to that?
Just again, tailoring that resume. There's
Yes.
Don't be fooled by thinking there's a blanket resume or a one-size-fits-all resume to applying for jobs. I told you I did it. I shotgunned my resume out to just as many employers as possible. And after that, I watched Jerry Springer or Maury. So that's just not the route to go. The phone calls were not coming in. I knew I was qualified, but I took the easier way out. And that was just to apply with one resume. So really just take that extra 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes or so, and you're only updating the professional summary and also your expertise bullet points below. That's really what you'll be updating, because your professional experience is going to stay static on the resume. So again, update that professional summary, update those expertise bullet points after carefully reading that job description, because Jesse's right, the answers are in the job description. If they need somebody who can operate system A, B, and C, you have to tell them you can operate system A, B, and C. Otherwise, if it's not on there, they'll assume you don't know how to operate system A, B, and C. They want a scalpel, give them a scalpel. That's what one of our BTSs says. Matt, he always says, if they want a scalpel, then give them a scalpel, not a machete.
I like it. All right, and then kind of a recap. We're going to go over some of the do's and don'ts of resume. As we will continue to beat down is target your resume towards a specific job. It's so important. If you're just shotgunning resumes out like Danisha talked about, as you start to tailor your resume, I think you're going to see that you're going to get better results back on your applications. Translating those military skills, staying away from acronyms, quantifying how many people, what is the value of your equipment, what percentage of money, annual cost savings did you have for that company, etc. And of course, don't make errors on your resume, grammar, spelling, etc. And of course, we have tools to help us avoid that, which we talked about earlier, spell check and friends and professionals. Of course, never falsify data. That should be a no-brainer. And don't use subjective language or adjectives. Use those action words, managed, supervised, streamlined, words like that. And no photographs, again, not the time and place on a resume. Tanisha.
Jesse, you nailed it. That's it.
And just a couple other things I wanted to highlight. I know I mentioned a couple times electronic scanning systems or applicant tracking systems. Other little things that you might think about adding to your resume that might be to your detriment are borders, fancy fonts, again, those pictures, shading, symbols, things like that. Some applicant tracking systems aren't designed to read those embellishments, and it could result in a perfectly qualified candidate not even getting looked at by a hiring manager or recruiter. So keep it simple, clear, achievement-oriented, and you'll be just fine getting through those, and tailored, and you'll be just fine with those tracking systems. All right. Next slide, please.
I think I want to add one thing too. As far as one section that wasn't on the resume that you could possibly put on there is volunteer experience. This is usually seen on a lot of spouses' resumes. If you have any volunteer experience that's relevant to the job you're applying to, could be administrative, could be in healthcare, just whatever that experience is in that volunteer sector that just supports the job you're applying to, because you can gain some valuable transferable skills as a volunteer. So that's a section that you could add on the resume. But again, you want to make sure it adds value ultimately to what you're applying to and what the goal is going to be.
Good point. Thanks, Danisha. And I see that we do have one viewer. So if you have any questions that you want to ask myself or Danisha right now, we're available. Otherwise, we'll just go ahead and close this out. Doesn't look like you have any questions. So thanks again for joining us on VetNet, and Apologize for any little glitches with the slide. You're able to follow along just fine. If you found this meant to be helpful, I suggest you either sign up for services at hireheroesusa.org, or you work with us next week. We're going to be doing a VetNet same practical application on resumes.
Thank you, ladies.
You're welcome. If you need anything, let us know, okay?
I definitely will. Great information. I appreciate it.
Good. If you don't mind me asking, what have been some of the roadblocks that you've experienced in your job search?
Well, honestly, I just started my job search again. I've actually been out of the military now for quite a while, and I've been with my current employer for a little over 7 years now.
Oh, wow.
So I'm very rusty on my resume skills because I've been with the same employer for so long. So I just really wanted to get back in there and just update, and then also not have just one version of my resume, but also have like different versions, so that way, you know, I can show my skills off in a better way.
That sounds good. And it's true. With the resume writing, it's one of those that you need it for a specific task, and that's typically to get a job. So once you get the job, the resume gets on the shelf, and it gets dusty, and it gets forgotten about. So Casey and I, we can definitely assist you with the resume. We're going to ask you some questions and have you really dig deep and take a self-inventory on what your skills are, what skills you've acquired over the past 7 years, because now we want to make sure we showcase those, because they wouldn't have kept you for 7 years if you were not good at your job. So let's just be honest. So I want to make sure that those skills are highlighted on that resume, and also that we just do our best to make sure you shine on paper just like you shine right now on Google Hangouts, and that you'll shine in person. That's the goal. It's just to make sure you outshine everyone else.
Okay. I look forward to it.
All right,
Thank you so much again.
We'll be waiting to hear from you. You have our information. Our email addresses are on the bottom.
Okay. Will do.
And I know where to find you. I really don't. That was creepy. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
But thank you so much for tuning in with us, and we look forward to helping you as much as we can. We take veteran employment seriously. We're not here because it's a trendy thing to do. The processes we have in place, they work. So you work with us, you work hard for us, we'll continue to work hard for you, and just make sure that whatever your short-term goals are and your long-term goals, we help you meet those.
Okay. Sounds good, ladies. Thank you so much again. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Take care.